The Mummy is a 2017 American action-adventure film directed by Alex Kurtzman. I think I said that pronounced. Wow, I can't speak. I think I said that correctly. I almost said I think I said that correctly, or I think I pronounced that correctly at the same time. English is hard. Of course, not to be confused with the 1999 Mummy. This reboot of the original Mummy series was meant to be the first installment of a new series of films by Universal Studio called The Dark Universe. And this movie definitely ends as if it's supposed to be the beginning of some new crazy adventure Mummy series. But apparently that didn't come to fruition, which kind of sucks because it definitely does end on like sequel bait. But, well, I guess it sucks depending on how you think about it because the movie was an experience. Now, The Dark Universe was actually supposed to be a planned out series of movies that were going to be developed and distributed by Universal Studios or Universal Pictures. And this reboot of The Mummy was supposed to be the first of a series of various films. I do wonder to some degree if it was supposed to be Marvel-esque, like combining all these random like superhero-esque monsters together and kind of building an ultimate universe in that way. But this movie bombed so bad that they just shelved it and said, maybe not. And of course, being that this movie is led by Tom Cruise, one would say probably the biggest action star in the world, probably. One would think that would have got people in their seats. But again, I didn't even know this movie came out. So, which is truly sad because this movie was expensive. Very expensive. I will say before I bitch about how expensive it is, it does look like it's worth the money, if that makes sense. Like the CGI, the action effects, all the shit going on. It looks like, oh, okay, y'all had a budget. It went somewhere. It didn't look like a money laundering scheme the way like Evan Almighty did. So to produce The Mummy, the final budget was reported to be around $125 million, which is sufficient. After you include full production and marketing, though, the bill ended up being somewhere around a little under $350 million. It was like $345, which again is embarrassing because I didn't even know this movie happened. You spent $200 million possibly on advertisement, and this, in my opinion, never happened. Now, with such a big check on that, it meant that the movie had to make over $340 million to even break even, which is really asking a lot. You're asking a movie to basically make $1 billion to be worth it, which how many movies have grossed $1 billion? That might be something to look into. Not a whole lot, I would imagine, if any. The movie ended up making about $410 million internationally, which is not bad at all. But when you consider how much money went into it, it ended up being like a $60 to $100 million loss, if you think about it in the eyes of Universal Studios, which is, I don't even know if, like, at that point, it's Universal's fault. If you put that much money into a movie, at some point, you have to just recognize that realistically, not every soul on the planet is going to watch this movie. This is just a bad investment at that point. And it's an even worse investment when you actually watch the movie and realize that the movie is not good. Before I get into my opinion on the movie, let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes real quick. 16% from reviewers, and 35% from audience scores. Hey, oh, okay. The consensus ultimately boiled down to the movie was not nearly as fun as the first movie, and that's, spoiler, kind of where I fall in my opinion of the film. It lacked the campy fun of the franchise's most recent series, and failing to deliver many monster movie thrills, The Mummy suggests a speedy unraveling of the Dark Universe, which is fair. So again, because I, in preparation for this video, thought I was watching the other movie, so I watched the original Mummy, and you know, some things are very a movie from the 90s, and also it's set in like the 1920s or something like that, so it shows. But the movie itself is just so fun and so funny and creepy and scary, but it's actually a fun movie. And how do I put this? I don't think of fun when I think of Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise doesn't give me fun guy. And it shows in the actual viewing of this movie.